Like I met him when he got stationed up here. He's a officer. He's in the ER, and he's like it's like South Carolina, Pop Flatlays kind of guy.
Okay.
And I always make fun of him for it. But we're the same age. I think he's like maybe like a month or two older than me. But we kind of like had a lot of like the same ideals and stuff, like outlooks on like life and like priorities and like where like what we're kind of trying to do
Yeah.
as like at this point of our lives, like what we think is like, important. And he basically the point that I'm getting to is that we're different but similar. And he read his vows to his now wife, and he was like, before now, I didn't think that there was anybody that could handle all the love that I have to give.
Mm.
And I was like, dang, that's like it's pretty true because I know him, his personality, and like I'm like, yeah, he does love. He's like a big love guy. Like he's like,
Yeah.
and it's not in the essence of like he's just like super infatuated with this girl, but he's not a bullshit person. So when he's saying something to you, it's not bullshit, and when you could tell like that's love. Like that's like even when it's like the homies, right? Like somebody who can talk to you and not bullshit you.
Yeah.
That's like like what you're saying to me, you're saying to me because you care about me. That's
Yeah.
love. And he can do that to a lot of people, not just like a select few people. Most of the people that he encounters with, he's like that. And I see that in myself because I'm like most of the people that I encounter that I give my time to,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like no bullshit. Like if I fuck with you, I fuck with you. I'm looking out for your best interest. I'm not trying to bullshit you. I'm just trying to give it to you straight.
Yeah.
So when he said that, I was like, dang, dude. And then I was just like, fuck, am I gonna be able to find somebody who can handle as much love as I have to give? I was like, fuck.
Well, I'm curious. I think we should go back to the whole nomad thing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm curious to hear what you mean. What do you mean
Mm-hmm.
by that? Like, where do you think you are, and where are you going, and
Yeah.
do you want to get out from being a nomad? Do you want to like establish yourself in a camp or with other people? Like, where's your head at right now?
Yeah. I think I do. I know I do. I can't find anyone that I belong to.
Like
Like
any one person or a group of people?
yeah, like a group of people. Yeah. I mean, not maybe I'd say I really just want to establish my own camp.
Yeah.
You know? Does that make sense?
And like attract people to your camp? Is that what you mean? That you want to be the tribal leader? Is that what you're getting at?
No, because I feel like okay, so I think if we're looking at it like this, right? Like we're using the analogy of like tribes and like
Yeah.
camps, right? Like a tribe is like a group of people, right? And then within that group, there's camps,
Okay.
right? Like because we don't all sleep in the same tent, so you have to like
Yeah.
set up camp along this area,
Okay.
and wherever you set up your camp, that's where your tribe is. So like and then the tribes can have like subdivisions to them, right? So it's like this
Okay.
chief runs like this part of the tribe, like in this part of the tribe there may be two or three chiefs who run things.
Mm-hmm.
So like my tribe that I'm like a part of is like Anchorage, right? And then like the sub tribes of it would be AGA. At AGA, there's like the coaches. The coaches are all the chiefs. They run everything,
Yeah.
right? And then we have like the real estate boys, right? It's like you, me, Ryan, Tyler, right? Like we are all chiefs in that tribe. We all like discuss like moves and we make like congruent moves and lateral moves like that within that tribe.
Yeah.
And then there's all these camps and you can intermingle with each other. So like like sometimes I go over and I camp at your place and you camp at my place and we go on adventures and we gather stuff together like as members of the same tribe.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, like I don't really have like one designated spot where I'm like this is where my camp is. Like my camp I pack it up and move it all the time,
Yeah.
right? Like I show up on days where like maybe there's not a lot of people showing up to AGA, or like I go and I sometimes you're not there to go fish, so I go fish by myself, or I'll go fish with Louie, or
Yeah.
So I think in that sense that's what I mean. Like I kind of want to establish my camp,
And
and
what would that entail? Like what do you envision your camp being?
um, I think it's just like a more like complete home, like having like even when Ben was over here, it was cool because like I was like, all right, cool, like at least me and Ben are like at camp together, right?
Yeah.
Like you know, I know that like I could start the dishwasher and he can empty it, or he could start the dishwasher and I can empty it, or he could start some laundry because I already have clothes in there. He could start laundry and move it to the dryer, and I can take it out and divide it. You know what I mean? And
But that just sounds like chores. Like
right, yeah, but it's housekeeping,
yeah.
right? But it's also too, it's like I have somebody who I can wake up with. We both be here, and the day's fucking nice outside, and be like, "Yo, bro, we should go do something today," And it's not like I gotta be like, "Oh yeah, like let me like see what schedule's Davin on, or what schedule's Louis on. Is Louis and Jory both off? Because if Louis and Jory both off, they gotta spend it together. Okay, if Davin's off, is Kiara already got something planned with Alexis? Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's less organization that needs to happen. Um, and so, like, yeah, having Ben when he's here, right, is cool. But I would want it like I'd prefer it be like obviously like a girlfriend,
Mhm.
maybe one day a wife, right?
Okay.
Um,
So you're thinking like you're envisioning this as like settling down with somebody.
right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because it's like I don't want to like yeah. I'm just like tired of like
So I had a different like idea of this, and I'm glad I asked you because I was thinking of something completely different
yeah.
when you were talking about camps. What I was imagining is like a your friend circle. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like we may all be on like different things. Like real estate or like jujitsu.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like as much into jujitsu, probably arguably more, that I'm like into climbing. Because like
Okay.
that's my thing now. It's like I climb all
Yeah.
the time. But I think like what I was envisioning, like friend circle, is like um, fuck. Like I had a word for this earlier. Intellectual, like our intellectual like ideas and like thoughts and
Mm,
values and things like that.
yeah.
Because you like gravitate towards people that are kind of like on the same line, like intellectually.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
we kind of think the same, ideologies are similar, and even if they're not, we still mesh. Because even though we might have conflicting like views, we're still able. That's actually more beneficial as far as like friends and shit like that go, because we can always bounce shit off of each other, as you're saying, like shoot it straight. Like
Yeah.
you need those conflicting ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but that's what I was thinking when you were talking about camps and stuff like that. And I was going to make the argument of like it sounded like you were just putting too much emphasis on like one particular thing. You know what I mean? Like I got my real estate boys, I got like my jujitsu, I got like this, I got like that. But at the end of the day, really, we're all these people are all like the same, like intellectually. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like we're
Yes.
all a part of like the same camp. You
Yeah.
know, even though we're all like into different shit, and sometimes we like do things like out, not all together. We're
Right.
still together, like on that intellectual level. I think
Yeah.
that's what's most important. You know
I
what I mean?
agree. No, I agree with that completely, and I think that's a good way to put it, like the circle of five. And so I would counter that by saying that yes, I do agree. I have a belonging, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a true nomad, right? But in the sense that I'm a nomad, I feel as though my attachment to everything is like very, very, um, it's very like minimal.
Okay.
Um,
Like your attachment to jujitsu.
right. Like my attachment to my gym, my attachment to like, my school,
Yeah.
like my attachment with the boys is more solidified, but it's also too like you don't need me around,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it was actually like no shit when I went to pick up my Subi this morning. And I was like, because I dropped my truck off at your house, and I was like, I'll walk. It's a nice, beautiful day out today, dude. It's gorgeous this morning.
Yeah.
Like perfect weather. I was like,
How
dude,
long
this
did it
is
take you to do that walk?
like 30 minutes.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, dude, sweet walk, man. But this is legitimately like no shit. You like I can show you the text later too. I like texted my brother. I was just like, hey man, would I be crazy if I just got on a plane right now and left to Thailand? Like, because what is realistically keeping me here? Like I
Well,
could.
because you don't have a girlfriend. Like you don't have a like like you're saying, yeah, like a relationship that you have to
I don't have
uh
anybody else to have to take accountability for.
accountability for. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And
and
what's wrong with
that
that?
it's lonely, man. It's
Yeah.
lonely, dude.
Okay.
It's cool, but it sucks, man. You know, like it's cool to have your own choice, and I think about that a lot. I'm like, you know, the episode I did with my brother, we were talking about what is the definition of success,
Yeah.
and I told you I'm reading that book by Scott Galloway, The
Mm-hmm.
Algebra of Happiness, and it's so funny because in the book, the premises of it is success is measured by happiness.
Mm-hmm.
The happier you are, the more successful one can be. So the guy who like works at Fred Meyer's bagging groceries, but he's happy as can fucking be,
Yeah.
that guy's more successful than the guy who drives a Bugatti, who's stressed the fuck out because he's got a Fortune 500 company that he's a part of, and if he makes one error, the entire thing collapses.
Yeah.
Who's happier, right? And money is a great facilitator for happiness because it allows you to have access to things that could make your life easier and thus make you happier.
Yeah.
But like I have the money. I have the facility to be happy, but I just cannot attain it here. No matter what I do,
And
it's
you
like
think that what you're lacking is a companion.
I don't know what it is, but I know that I'm not going to find it here. I've put in the work here in Alaska to try and facilitate my happiness,
Yeah.
and I have the money to facilitate it. There is no bar like of entry for me to do anything here in Alaska, but it just doesn't make me happy anymore. I don't like, and it sucks. And maybe it's a relationship. Maybe I need a partner, but Alaska comes with its own set of challenges. I think the chances of me finding somebody who can handle what I'm doing and how much I have to give, it's like very, very slim here.
Hmm.
And I think, you know, I've been talking about Thailand a lot. I don't think Thailand's going to fix my problems. I'm not going to go to Thailand and be like, I'm so happy with my life.
Yeah.
Right. But I think going to Thailand will be the ultimate, like, it'll be the ultimate gift to myself of saying, hey, like you're here living the life that you want to do
Mm-hmm.
with no rules, restrictions, or anything. This is 100% all you because of you.
Yeah.
Um, you know, and that, like that'll be my time to like,
Well, it's interesting that you're bringing this up, specifically traveling.
yeah,
This is like a segue into a similar but different conversation. Like it all kind of will circle back.
mm-hmm.
But I was kind of having a similar conversation with somebody the other day. And just looking at it, I think I was talking to like one of my airmen on flight, talking to him more of like from a leadership perspective. And because I was in Europe for 9 years, I was in Germany for 6 years, and then Italy for 3. So it was more like 8. But then I spent a year in Korea. So I was overseas for 9 years. While I was in Germany and Italy, I was always traveling. And traveling in ways like outside of the norm, right? So originally, I was flying to different cities, just seeing cities, doing regular tourist shit. But at some point, there was a desire like for more. Like I wanted more the, you know, out of places that I was going.
Mm.
So then I started, rented a van when I went someplace. I rented a van in Ireland and ended up driving the entire country, drove around the whole thing. Did the same thing in Portugal, Iceland. There were times where, for instance, I took a train from Venice down to Rome, or I had intended to take a train to go to Rome, and I stopped in Florence and got on the wrong train. There's like a train. There was a train that was arriving at the same exact time that my train was supposed to be coming, but it was delayed. But it arrived at the same time my correct one was, and so I got on
Oh
that train
man.
like without question, and ended up on my way to Naples.
Oh shoot.
And I figured it out while I was on the train, but it was a one-way shot all the way to Naples. So obviously I was fucked.
Yeah.
Train ain't gonna turn around.
They're like, you're going to Naples now, bro.
And so I was supposed to be arriving in Naples at like 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And so obviously I'm not going to be able to find a train back at night. I'm not going to be able to book a hotel or stay in, book a hostel at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And so I still got about like 4 hours on this train. And so I downloaded Couchsurfing app, and I like had made a profile and started looking for people to stay with when I arrived in Naples. And I hit up a few people. I had one guy that messaged me back. I told him the whole story. He asked me what time I was going to arrive, and told him like it's going to be like 1 o'clock in the morning. Is that all right? And he was like, "Yeah, I'll be here. I'll be up." So I arrived at the train station in Naples, grabbed a bottle of wine on my way up to his place, and sure as shit, bro, like he opened his house to me. He had like snacks and shit ready to go, a bottle of water. I gave
Dude.
him the wine. We cracked it open and just started like chalking it up. It was 1 o'clock in the morning. Never, random
Yeah.
person in his house, and we're just talking about whatever life and all sorts of shit.
Yeah.
Exchanged information, and he set me up on his couch, and I booked a train for like 6 o'clock in the morning, so I was going to be out in a few hours. So he was like, "Yeah, I'm not going to be awake. I'm going to be asleep. So take some snacks, take a bottle of water if you want, and I'll catch you at some point down the road, or if you ever make it back here, I got a fucking Vespa. I'll take you around Naples." And we parted ways, that morning.
Yeah.
And it's shit like that, like experiences like that, like unique experiences,
Mm-hmm.
um, that like trigger like something that feels unnatural at
Yeah.
the time. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because it's outside of your comfort zone,
Yeah.
and it's those experiences that kind of alter your perspective a little bit.
Yeah.
And each experience like that alters it, you know, in a little way, and maybe makes you want to do something else. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
In a similar light, like stepping outside of your comfort zone makes you more comfortable stepping out. It makes you more comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so you start wanting to do other things that like will make you uncomfortable, because you always remember like that time where like, I really took a chance there, and it was like one of the, it's a core memory that I have now.
Mm-hmm.
And that in itself like kind of it affects you, and it changes you, and like alters your values, and you start to see the world in a different light.
Yep.
you know
Yeah.
and you take that, and that becomes who you are. And you
Mm-hmm.
start, especially looking at it as a leader like perspective, you start to um give those experiences that wisdom, because at that point it just becomes wisdom. you know and those are the things that you like are giving to people. you know
Yeah.
um which is why I like going to Thailand, and experiencing life in a different way. you know is just better, just in general, like for you.
Yeah.
It's better for anybody to like to do that and experience that, and like
Yeah.
like alter their consciousness a little bit.
No, I 100% agree with you. Um, and just to kind of take what you said and summarize it, right? So if you could summarize that all into like a 60-second spurt, how would you summarize that?
Be comfortable being uncomfortable, and the only way you can do that is to not be comfortable. You know what I mean? You just have to be okay with taking a chance on something. I didn't know that I was gonna, I didn't know what to do at that moment. I didn't know what to do. Talking about the train,
Right.
I had no other option.
Right.
So I was almost forced in that moment to step outside of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
And maybe that is what was the catalyst for it. I don't know. I can't remember like anything before then. So it could have been the catalyst.
Yeah.
But you just need an opportunity to really just do something different and maybe alone,
Right. Right.
because when you're with people, like you tend to like cower towards them,
Mm. You
and
get into group thought. You get into group thought.
yeah.
Yeah.
But when you're alone like that and you have to start making decisions on your own and venturing out, and that's when shit hits.
Yeah. And I think there's a couple points to that I kind of want to like touch on. Um, the first one being the be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
So that principle right there is something that I'm personally trying to do more often.
Mm-hmm.
We fucking joke around with each other, right? We're like, carry the boats, right? Like,
Yeah.
when there's times of uncomfort, that's that dog in you,
Yeah.
that ability to bring that dog out and be like, yo, we're gonna do this.
Mm-hmm.
I 110% believe that makes you a stronger person. Quick example: 4th of July, right? Going up that hill after everything, being dog shit tired, the
Mm-hmm.
sun's like hitting you, got all that shit we got to carry out now up the hill. Having that dog in you to be like, I'm not gonna be a bitch out of this hill,
Yeah.
makes you come up to the top. You get to the top and you go, all right, I did that shit,
Yeah.
right? And it also, like, for you especially, it makes you go, all right, next time we're fucking leaving early, right? Like, it's a two-part thing, right? Because had you never had stepped out of your comfort zone,
yeah,
and experienced pain afterwards,
mm-hmm.
you would never see the endless possibilities on the other side,
yeah,
right? If you were in your comfort zone and then the pain of going up the hill was there,
yeah,
and you just like you stayed comfortable the whole time, you're like, oh, I'm gonna walk up this, or I'm only gonna go up it for 5 seconds at a time, right?
yeah.
You never your mentality becomes, oh, just stay comfortable and you'll make it through the hard times.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like, dude, no, get uncomfortable, bring that dog out, learn from that, and
Yeah.
then on the other side of that, you're gonna be like, one, that hill, I could do that again, no
Yeah.
problem. And two, now I know in the future
Or even if you
how to
don't,
dodge that.
you know what I mean? Even if you make yourself uncomfortable and it doesn't necessarily work out, like you fail, like
Right.
you fall flat on your fucking face.
Right.
As long as you understand why you fell on your face,
Yeah.
and learn from it, the next time you're gonna be like, all right, there's a pothole here, I'm gonna fucking move around it. You know what I mean?
I'm not gonna try and do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And fail is an acronym. It just stands for first attempt in learning.
Yeah.
Right.
But the most important.
It is, right? So that's the first part, is that be uncomfortable being be comfortable with being uncomfortable,
and be comfortable failing,
and be comfortable failing. Know that you're not gonna make it. The second thing is the opportunity. So you're talking about group thought.
Yeah.
Right. And it's very true. When people are in group settings together, it's very hard for one person to kind of pull things all the one way. Mm-hmm. And it's like, whether it's 2 people or 3 people or 4 people, like, if it's a 3-person decision, I'm not going to sit there and be like, guys, we have to leave right now, right? Yeah. I'm going to be like, hey guys, I kind of want to go, but whatever you guys want to do. Mm-hmm. If it's just me and you, it's a little bit easier because it's like less people to negotiate with, but it's still like, I don't want to fuck up your vibe, just like you don't want to fuck up my vibe.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because now what's popping in my head is another memory that I have of Ireland. So when I was with Kiara,
right,
we were traveling around Ireland in the van,
mm-hmm.
and her mom had messaged like a family friend of hers, letting her know, and she like gave her Kiara's phone number, mm-hmm. letting her know we were there.
Yeah.
This was after the whole like Florence fucking debacle that I had. And so the lady had messaged Kiara and was like, hey, this is my address. If you want to stop by while you're over here, you're more than welcome. You can sleep here, you can shower here, and then, you can continue. I know you're doing like a van trip around Ireland. And so Kiara was bringing this to me, and she was like, what do you think about this? And Kiara, having never done that before, she's like, asking me, and she wants my answer. And
Yeah.
I was like, fuck it. Yeah, sure, why not? Like, it's a place to stay and shower, of course. Like, if she's offering this, and you start to understand that too. When someone offers you something, they are offering it to you for a reason. You
Yep.
know what I mean? You're not just
Absolutely.
going to get offered something with the,
Like it's a trick.
yeah, like that,
Right.
like doesn't happen.
Right.
And so I was like, yeah, of course she wants us there. Because initially when you like start to, if you've never done this before, I'm just talking about this one example, and someone asks you that, you're like, oh, like, I don't know, I don't want to inconvenience you.
Right.
But they're asking you because they don't care to be inconvenienced. And I was like, sure, yeah, fuck it. Like, let's go, let's stay with her, of course. If we need a place to shower.
Yeah.
And it was because of those experiences in the past, where
It's when you got uncomfortable,
yeah,
you learned.
exactly, where I was confident doing it, and so we did it.
And so that story, like that story as well, is another example. So the train story, that story, those are both perfect examples of what it means to have luck
Yeah.
happen, right? Because that's like another like saying is luck is when preparation meets opportunity,
Okay.
right? You get more lucky once you understand how to prepare yourself for opportunities.
Hmm.
Um, and so if you're saying that this instance where you're getting uncomfortable, you've been, whether it's be by your choice or by somebody else's choice for you,
Yeah.
you're uncomfortable. But you can be in like it's like in de-stress or like off stress. There's two different ones. But
Okay.
distress is when you're in a situation that is like stressful to you and you don't have the tools to fix it.
Okay.
That's when it's like, that's why it's like, why is this person out in the middle of the wild in distress? Because they are in a situation that they were not prepared for and they do not have the tools to fix it. And then like the up stress, or I'm probably butchering how it's supposed to say, hey Jamie, can you pull that up? But the opposite version of that is when you're in a difficult situation, whether you put yourself into it or not. Most of the times we put ourselves into it, but we have the tools to make it. Those are the moments where you come out on the other side way stronger.
Yeah.
And so the more that you can prepare yourself for the stress, the better you could be. Mm-hmm. And then to like bring that all back full circle to where I feel that I am at currently in my life, I feel that I am in a very, very mind numbing version of like up stress, right? Like,
okay.
Like school does not stress me out a lot. It's like, because I'm so, and I don't want to like sound like I'm full of myself here, but I've been a paramedic for 4 years. So going to nursing school, I have a extremely marginally huge advantage. And then I was in the military. You know what it's like being in the military. Mm-hmm. Everything that we learn in the military, it's like, hey, on the civilian side, the safest way to practice this is within a 48-hour window. We're going to get you guys signed off of it in 3 hours. Open up. You know what I mean? So like we're used to that type of environment. So I'm used to that environment. That gave me an up. I'm used to being a paramedic. That gave me an up. Then being a paramedic itself is also a stressful job. That gives me another up. So now I'm doing this I'm doing this degree because I need it to like make it to the next level in my life, right? But it's not a huge stress for me. Then it's like, what are my other stresses? Managing my fourplex.
So you're just not being challenged enough.
I'm not being challenged enough. And so I was talking to my brother about this, and like I don't want every podcast to be the same. I don't want every episode to be the same. But these things kind of start to tie into each other. Yeah. And I think that's really the big thing about this podcast is, for me, I want it to be a journal because I want to check to make sure, like, hey, remember on July 2023, that conversation you were having to Davin about stressful situations, seeking opportunities, taking advantage of opportunities. That was the right mindset. Remember how you felt. Remember how that vibe made you feel. Remember the thoughts that were going through your head, and like go with that. And like you said, like I'm not being challenged enough. I definitely feel like I'm not being challenged enough. I think that's why I love jiu-jitsu so much, is because for every guy that I beat, there's 100 other guys that are ready to whip my ass.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it's like
Which would
I
explain why
feed
you like
off of
climbing
that.
too.
Right. I like climbing because for every hard climb I do, there's another one next to it that I'm like, fuck, I gotta get. You know what I mean? And that's how my brain works, and I think that's how a lot of the people that I hang out with, their brains work. Because I noticed that we all kind of doing the same shit.
Yeah.
Right? So to like kick this back to you, I know we talked about this. Where do you think your like successes lie? Like if you were to say like
In
that,
I take a lot of pride in gaining and giving back what I've gained. You know what I mean? That's where I take my successes, you
mm,
know? And I'm only starting to like understand this now because this isn't something that's like I've been thinking about for a long time. This has been when I've been put into like this position as like, you know, a leader of a 53 man like flight. You know what I mean?
and how old are
Like
you now?
31.
31.
Yeah. And I've only started to like really think about how because I get into it like why am I the way that I am? You
Mm-hmm.
know, where do these values come from? You know, why do I talk this way? Why do I think this way? You know, and that's when I start diving into like, you know, these core memories that I have and things that stood out like in my life and more recently in the past like 12 years where I think that I've changed the most. You know, being in a relationship, being in a bad relationship, being in a divorce, being in, you know, in between, you know, relationships, and then, you know, meeting Kiara and you know, in between all these things, traveling and discovering myself, like all of this is discovering myself.
Right.
Um, and that's where I take success, changing and being happy with like the person that I am, you know, values um, and being able to articulate those values, those ideas to other people, you know, and hopefully inspiring them
Yeah.
to do what we're talking about, you know, be comfortable being uncomfortable
Right.
because I want them to experience that change. You know, I want them to experience these life altering events. And I hope that they do.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll really ever know, but I hope to inspire them enough to be able to do that.
Yeah. Do you even care about the total outcome, or you just want to do it because it makes you feel good? Like that's what you take pride in.
So because I'll really never know unless
Mm-hmm.
they come back to me at some point and say,
Mm-hmm.
you know, push me to do this. I just take pride in just doing it, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because I will never more than likely see like what the ultimate outcome is.
Yeah.
But knowing and just being confident in my abilities, like as a leader, which is why I'm staying in the military because I do enjoy doing that shit.
Yeah.
Um, that makes me happy. That brings me success.
So in this like age right now, we have Instagram,
Yeah.
and that is it's a window to everybody's life. Now, whether or not what you're seeing through it is accurate,
Yeah.
it is. A way, there is a part of it that you can see the truth of like what somebody's doing. They're gonna only show you what they want you to see, but if you have put values into somebody and you watch their story, you can kind of see like, hey, did I affect that person or not? Right? Is that something that ever crosses your mind, or do you even think about? Do you reflect back and look at like, oh man, I was part of this person's life. How did I change them, or how have they changed from when I met them to now?
I haven't, and mainly because this, like I said, this is something that's still like pretty fresh.
Pretty fresh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have not done the same, but thinking about it, I can think back if somebody did have that mindset. There are a lot of people that I know if they were looking at me, they would be proud because it'd be like, that's that motherfucker. That's how I remember before I met him, he was not doing shit like that. To see him doing that now, I played a part in that. You know, I think, you know, shout out to like my homegirl Whitney Rasu, dude. Like that girl, I met her up here, and I met her when I was like going through like this rough patch with my my ex-wife, but she like encouraged me to like get out and hike and like do all this shit. And I'm like, ah, dude. And she'd always be like, Matas, dude, you have to quit bitching and just go and do it.
Yeah.
And like, that was that time where I was like, that was the start of me being like, I have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And so it was like doing stuff like I'd never gone backpacking before, and she introduced me to backpacking and like starting fires and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it engaged me in this sort of activities, and I was like, dude, these are challenging, and I like it because it's making me like grow and change, you know. And I'm sure now there's things I'm doing now that she's like, she probably doesn't do, but I know she still follows me like on Instagram. We still chop it every now and again.
Yeah.
I have never asked her, but I'm curious to know if she probably is like, if that ever crosses her mind, or maybe it doesn't cross her mind. She's just like, this motherfucker, like.
Yeah. So you know what? Now that you say it, there has been like a few people like that I bumped into, you know, throughout the years.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I was in Korea, I was skateboarding like every fucking day. I brought my skateboard with me wherever I went.
Yeah.
And I remember I was skating in Busan, which is like this real famous beach.
Mm-hmm.
And there was this Korean dude that was there, and he was skating, and he saw me and my buddy skating, and he started talking to us, like asking us questions. I let him like try out my skateboard because his skateboard wasn't like what he needed it to be. You know what I mean? Like he was out there like trying shit, which is awesome. But when you buy like a skateboard from like Walmart or something like that, like a skateboard is just so hard.
Right.
On like a real shitty board and like shit trucks and shit wheels.
It's like a Walmart mountain bike.
Yeah, bro. Like it's hard. Like those sort of boards, bro, are just hard to just skate. You know what I mean? Like I have a hard time skating on those boards.
Yeah.
And so I let him try out my board, and he got into it a little bit more. And then we started following each other on Instagram. And then a couple weeks go by, and I see he went out and like bought a whole new deck and everything.
Nice.
Like proper trucks, like indie trucks.
Yeah, and you were part of that.
Yeah, you know, and so that, like, I did see that. I mean, because that was pretty instant.
Yeah.
You know? And then, like, every now and again, I'll see him, like, post something on Instagram or whatever about skating, and I'll be like, fuck yeah, you know, I'll do a little like or something, you know? And so that's cool to see. That does kind of hit you. Yeah. Which is dope.
Dude, and that's kind of, I think, one of my hugest obsessions. Yeah. Because we talked about the struggling to like be comfortable with discomfort. We talked about opportunity and like luck, right? Yeah. We talked about the tribes, we talked about the nomads. All these different things are things that I have learned that have made me like proficient at certain things. Mm-hmm. And one example is like, so I guess before even getting to the example, the biggest part of that being is that what am I doing? How does that impact people around me? Mm-hmm. And, you know, like we're both saying like, oh, I don't know, like the people that I've like looked back on, or you have that one instance friend and I have that one instance friend. But more relevant is the people that I'm exposing myself to on the regular, that I'm constantly seeing my impacts on them.
What about me?
Exactly. Right. Like, you know, like from when I first met you to where you're at now, I can see you like are becoming more and more like into the finance game, mm-hmm. right? Like you're starting to like understand the finance game better and play it better. And I'm not saying that my way is the best way. I'm not saying that Ryan's way is the best way, but like, again, and it's a weird way that life works, because it's not even like you were like, I want to be into real estate, that's why I'm boys with Ryan, mm-hmm. right? It's like you guys were in the military, security forces together. You guys met on the same intellectual level.
No, we didn't. I did not like Ryan.
Was it Tyler? Was Tyler Tyler?
I didn't even. Me and Tyler didn't even like really kick it off, bro. Oh, like man. We were just in fucking Africa together, and Ryan. I mean, at the time, Ryan was like so much younger than me. Like, because there's like a big like in between, you know, 18 and like, let's just say 24, 25.
I thought it was 25. Yeah.
Like there is like 25, there's like after 25, everyone younger than that, like it's just on a different level. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's kind of like where we were at. Like Ryan was still like he was getting there, but I
Yeah.
think he was still like down here, and I was just a little bit more mature at the time. So like we didn't really hit it off in Africa that much. Um, and me and Tyler, we didn't really work together. We just kind of knew of each other.
Mm.
Same with like you never met Nathan, but he's over here. Like we didn't really like mesh that well in
Mm.
Africa. But I
Okay.
think at some point, like along the roads, like I saw Tyler in Italy, when he was in Vicenza, and maybe there, like we started to realize that we were kind of on the same
On the
page.
same like wavelength.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So okay, but
So we some growing had to be
there's some
done.
growing. But to be back to the point though, like life like brought you together in the
Yeah.
first instance to
Yeah.
meet. You're right, and then whatever happens, it brings you together again to meet again.
Yeah.
This
Which is
time you
crazy.
find
Yeah,
out
which is great.
you're on a similar intellectual level.
Yeah.
Then, like, dude, I don't even know the distance between Alaska and Italy, but that's really fucking far.
Yeah.
And there's so many bases in between. If you were to go either way,
Yeah.
that you could have been stationed at, that they could have been stationed at, that I could have been stationed at.
Yeah.
And again, life is like, all right, hey man, like here's your map. Boom, you're going to Alaska. You come to Alaska, you're on the same intellectual wavelength as these guys, right? So you're in the circle, and then it's like all of the tools that we all have at the camp here.
Yeah.
You come in and we're like, oh yeah, what's up, dude? Like we jive.
Yeah.
Yo, hey, I'm using this tool. You want to use it? Because we were talking about it earlier,
Yeah,
right? Like you got your own set of tools, physical tools, because you were borrowing the boys' tools. But it's like, but that metaphor is so realistic, man, because it's just like we're all just sharing tools, man.
Yeah.
And like that it's, if you look at it like climbing, right? Like people who do mountaineering, right? Like it's like base camps.
Yeah.
Right? We're all meeting up at different base camps, but we're all a part of the same like tribe of people trying to get to the same destination, right? And it's like, to me, that's one of the like my hugest obsessions to like, then this is like the way to full circle this point that I was initiating, was I am obsessed with like lighting the way.
Yeah.
It like, bro, and when I see somebody, because it's funny you say like you guys weren't on the same wavelength when you met in Africa.
Mm-hmm.
When I see somebody, even if they're younger than me, right? Like, I'm not gonna say any names, but like there's somebody that is younger than me,
Yeah.
and I see her and I'm like, holy shit, you have the potential to be like I see it, dude. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, I just want to like light the path, but I'm also having to restrain myself because I'm like, that robs you of the opportunity that you're gonna have to go to learn that, right?
Yeah,
like,
but why think that though, dude?
because
without
it's true.
Because without you, there's a lot of things, and I don't want to cut you off or like interfere.
You're good. No,
like,
go ahead.
Because there's like something that's like
No, get it out, dude. Spit it out.
Because like if Tyler hadn't, it's like hit me, like connected us,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and then we hit it off and started talking about real estate properties, everything like that, and then we started like hanging out, we started fishing, and then so like that's already so like real estate, fishing, and then he took me rock climbing,
Yeah,
and now I'm obsessed
and now
with
you're
rock
obsessed with rock
climbing.
climbing.
So there's like all these like ways that you've impacted me already,
Mm-hmm.
that at any point you could have been like, no, I don't want to rob you of like discovering these things on your own.
Fair. And so I agree with what you're saying, and that is why the other half of it is like in this particular instance, I see the potential for growth.
Mm-hmm.
And I've told that person, like, I'm like, hey, like, I see you have potential. I see where you can go. I don't want to take that from you. You know, I don't want to take the opportunity for you to grow away from you and be like, this is how you do it. You know, like, I want to introduce you to stuff, but I want you to choose it. I want you to choose. But it is like, to me, anytime I meet somebody or a friend or anybody, I'm just like, I don't want to, how can I benefit you by meeting you, right? Like, how can I benefit you, or how can I learn from you to grow? And can I eventually grow to be able to be helpful to you?
Okay.
Right? And so like, that's like the outreach of this podcast is I just want to like be like, hey, like, one, tell people you're not alone.
Yeah.
And then 2, be like, I kind of know a way if you want to check it out. Like, this is it. Like, you know.
Well, you know what I think about a lot too
Hmm.
is I here have not met someone that I jive with as much as I did with you, Tyler and Ryan. And there's nobody else like at work, no one like that I've met. And what, I kind of think about for the future is like, once you're out of here, where,
Who
where's
do
my
you
tribe,
have?
dude?
Yeah,
Yeah,
dude.
I
Yes.
lost my fucking tribe, bro.
Yeah.
And obviously that's like a distant future or whatever, but it's still something to like that I think about
6 months,
sometimes.
bro. It's not that distance.
Yeah,
Dude, but yeah, so but then this is the part that I'm talking about. And I think you won't be exactly where I'm at
yeah,
because you have Kiara,
yeah,
right?
yeah. But those like you need friends, you
You
need
do
like
need
friendships
friends.
also.
You do need friends because you can't just have um, your wife.
Yeah,
I experienced that when I was separating from active duty and I went into the guard. My one person that I wound up wanting to spend time with all the time was my ex, and I didn't realize it at the time, but like I would forego a lot of things because I was like, dude, I just need to have like a tribe member because
yeah,
this is scary by myself.
yeah.
And once she left, right, because she just like she had her own stresses that Alaska was causing, and another part of it is that Alaska is really really fucking hard to be in. It's everybody here is kind of like on their own, and Anchorage is the epicenter of socialization. And the second you leave this, dude, like people will not talk to you. People are nice. They'll be like, you see people on trails all the time. Hey, how's it going? That's it. That's your social interaction. So if you're somebody who needs social interaction, you'll die here because it is fucking thin. And that was like one of the biggest battles, man, for me in the last like 10 months. I've learned to kind of like have that peace and like solidarity, but I'm really peaceful when I'm in motion. I am like crazy, like rabid, like just like out of my mind
Yeah.
when there's peace. When there is like peace and quiet, I am, dude, like,
Got ADHD, dude.
bro. It's like it's not even ADHD. It's just like
You just want to move.
I just no, I don't even want to move. I can be comfortable, peace and quiet if I'm on the couch cuddled up with like my girlfriend, right? Like, bro, I don't even have to care what's on TV. I could just sit there as long as my head's getting scratched and I'm chilling there and she's there too. I don't even gotta talk. I'll just be there like, namaste, dude. I'm at peace in peace, right? But when it's just me here, there's no like I'm in my own echo chamber here,
Mm-hmm.
and and so that's why I want to be moving. That's why I want to be moving because I don't want to be at peace. Because when I'm at peace and I'm alone, it's maddening. And so I think that is what it is. I'm trying to find somebody else. Maybe it's not healthy, but the options are is like I need to move to another city for sure. I need to move to a city where socialization is greater
Okay.
and there's more options. Because like, I think about it like this, like you know what? I'm not even to get on a tangent, but what is your take on that? What I just said?
Socialization.
Yeah, or not even socialization, but just kind of like, because I know that I'm not the only person here.
Mm-hmm.
There's other people that are in this type of position, right? What is your take on that?
I don't know. Maybe I don't like. What do you mean?
When I'm
Break it down for me
saying
a little
when
more.
I'm saying that I'm not at peace in
Yeah.
peace,
Okay.
what is like? Do you feel like you have that under control?
Like just vibing.
Yeah,
I think I do.
you think so?
But
What are your vices?
I can't sustain that.
Mm.
Like that's not sustainable. I would get too like
You need a balance,
yeah.
for sure.
Like
don't have
I
a
wouldn't
balance.
just be able to be cooped up fucking for days on end. You
Oh,
know what I mean?
no.
There are some times where I just like, nah, dude, I don't want to do fucking shit today. I just
Yeah.
want to like be here. I want to vibe out. I don't want to talk to anybody. I just want to you know, just zone out for a little
Yeah,
bit.
just be
But
at
that's
peace, at
like
peace.
that's not sustainable for me though. I couldn't do that. I get too fucking out of my mind, bro. I would want to do, you know, I go to the gym, you know, go to the rock gym or something like that.
Yeah.
But I know that there are people, and there's even a guy I work with right now, um, that just lives at work. Like he is like happy at work.
Mm.
So he gets there early, he stays late because that's like his happy place.
Right.
And once he leaves, he gets like in his head and he's just depressed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so he just like waits to come back. He'll like play Xbox or whatever. You know what I mean? Keep his mind like focused on other things. Go to sleep, take a shower, eat breakfast, and then come to work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That way he like doesn't give himself the opportunity to start like going down that path.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Not saying that like you're depressed or anything, but that this is like one particular instance of like this is what's happening with this person.
Absolutely.
So I know people are in a similar sort of boat where they need to keep moving. They need to do something to keep their minds off of
the like the stuff. And I think that goes back to what I was saying. Alaska is that place because Alaska has a lot of not social, like as in like people barriers, but like social, like the barriers that you need to be a person.
Yeah.
Alaska's rough, and so you need somebody to like help you cope through it, or else you kind of got to be like really really mentally strong fortitude. Like you have to have some solid mental fortitude for it to be pitch black outside at 10 o'clock in the morning and you've been up since 7 because you're a routine guy. Yeah. And you have to be okay with being like sitting in your house for 3 hours in the dark. Yeah. Right. Or like you have to be okay with like I want to go run, but I have to go run in 10 degrees. Yeah. And it's pitch black outside. Yeah. You know, like and there's only so much time you can spend in the pain cave where you're just like, I gotta get out of here. I gotta get out.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, because I can do it, you know. Like, I can fucking vibe out in my house for a little bit. I got like vices, you know. I like playing Xbox and shit. But that can only last for so long. Right.
Because those are times of peace and quiet, right? Like if you think about it, like you're in motion, but that's really like Louis. He used to run a lot, and he told me like that was his like meditation. Like he'd be out on a run and just be like brains off, like right, like. And I think like jujitsu is a form of meditation for me. Like it's all off. I'm just chilling.
And so I think of climbing.
You know, climbing is definitely like a moment where I'm like super engaged, super focused. And again, those are more so moments where you're in motion and you're at peace with being in motion.
Because they kind of like it gets your mind just on one thing, you know. So you're not
everywhere.
None of the outside stressors are present, you know. You're focused on this route, you know.
Yeah.
Or like jiu-jitsu, I don't know much about jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, but it's just like you're just focused on the match that's in front. Yeah, like it's literally like it's a
you're hyper focused and nothing else.
And nothing else is coming over your mind. You're like, I literally just have to focus on how can I get his hand off my lapel right now? What do I and if I do that, what's my fuck, right? Like
that's fucking meditation.
Yeah, dude. And so I have practiced mindfulness and meditation a lot. And I do it very, very well on days like today, where it's like super bright and sunny out. Dude, I'll sit on my deck and I'll be out there for like an hour. And like no phone, just chilling, listening to the sounds, watching cars come by. And I don't have a thought in my not even that I don't have a thought in my head, but the thoughts that do come into my head don't overwhelm me. Right? Like I think about it, I'm just like, yeah, I do feel like that. I don't know. That'd be a good idea. You know, and I'm just chilling. But bro, like, I don't know what it is. When it gets dark or it's like rainy outside, dude, like, yo, I'll just be in here. I'm like, like Steve Jobsing it out, dude.
It's hard, bro.
You know? And
it's been raining like every
day, dude, every day, you know? So I don't know. I like, you know, I know like women are really, really good at this, bro. Like nesting is a really good way to be at peace when you're in peace and quiet, because then you have like all your little things that can kind of like help quell your brain, like help like take all those loud thoughts and kind of just be like, you know, like So, and I've been trying, like, my mom, like, came in here and kind of helped, like, hook it up a little bit, but it's not, she didn't really do too much more than, like, I had already had the layout set up, you know, like, to make my feng shui. She's just like, you need a carpet and some plants. And I was like, all right, cool.
I mean, it added to it.
It did add, it made it, like, aesthetically pleasing.
We were talking about that. We were talking about nesting.
Yeah.
That day that we came over here.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it is more, like, aesthetically pleasing now. I will agree to that. But yeah, there's just something that's, like, missing. Maybe it's a person, maybe it's a thing, maybe it's a place. Yeah. So I'm going to get out of Alaska to see if I can figure it out. Hopefully going to Thailand, you know, will help me figure it out. But yeah, we need baggers. We need baggers at a grocery store. We need, like, cashiers. We need people to do those jobs. And those people are people that are just, like, their level of success and happiness is different than what our level of success and happiness, and that just means that they're on a different mountain. They're climbing a different mountain. And when I look at the mountain that we're climbing and like what this, like, essentially this peak could look like, because we have no idea what it looks like until we get there. We only have what is being fed down to us through, like, social media, but we're following the same track. And, you know, we're all going up the mountain in different sides, and, like, our paths are going to cross or whatever in different portions. We're all going to, like, this destination at the top. When I look at this mountain that we're on and I look back and I look out and I see the other mountains that people are climbing and I see the hills that people are climbing, it makes me, like, kind of, like, question it and be like, what the fuck am I even doing? Like, where am I even going? You know, like, and then that brings you to, like, what your motivators are. So, like, what would be your motivators that you would list for why you are on this mountain? And where do you think that you even want to stop? Or what does this top of this mountain look like for you?
I don't know. And I don't necessarily want to know or want to try to know. Because I think this all goes back to, like, I know who I am. I know what I like. I know what I don't like. And I know what I want to keep doing with, is what the military provides. It's like, being a leader, getting money to travel, putting me in places where I can experience the world, experience life in a new way. Because I've tried in the past to, like, see, okay, in 5 years, this is where I want to be. You know what I mean? And it doesn't work out. And that's okay, and so I don't necessarily want to, like, put something, like, this is where I want to be. This is what I want to do. Because maybe in that sort of time frame, like, my values might shift, and so why, like, go full speed ahead towards something that in 5 years I might not be so interested in. The analogy that I like to use is just like riding the wave.
There's always going to be another one.
What's that?
There's always going to be another one.
Yeah, dude. Like, if you're just out there, bro, you're just riding the waves, man. Like, life comes and it goes, and you're just out there just going with the flow. And sometimes, everything lines up and you're fucking riding that wave and you're, in it. Everything feels good. And at some point, it's going to end. Waves also don't last forever.
Yeah.
And so at some point, it's going to end and you're going to go back to just bobbing in the water, And sometimes you might miss a wave, like you weren't there at the right moment to catch it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you might miss it. Sometimes you'll get fucking hammered, like
you're in the wash, bro.
Bro.
You're getting wrecked in the wash, dude. Yeah.
And it'll fucking drag you down. You get fucked up on the reef, bro. But we're buoyant, so we float. So we'll come back up. We float back up to the top.
Yeah. Or you could just come floating up like Dead Man.
The analogy doesn't. I mean, I guess at some point, we're gonna die. Yeah. At some point, it's true. And that's it, dude. Like, you just ride it out.
Yeah.
And you take one wave at a time, and that's all that you can really do. And that's kind of what I'm doing.
So what's your motivator then? Because eventually there comes a point where, one, you have to come in, right? There's a time where you have to come back. You have to come back on the land, and you gotta, like, regather yourself, right? That's when you go home and go to sleep. What is your motivator to get back out there and surf again the next day, especially if the last day that you surfed was completely trash?
Gain some more experience,
So you're just going out there just off of this motivation that you have to keep learning.
Yeah, dude, I got to keep learning. I got to keep failing. I got to keep growing,
Mm,
and hopefully in doing though, doing that, I can give something back.
mm. It's interesting. That's interesting. Do you feel like anything is like in particular that you're like, man, I'm gonna just ask you because this is where I'm trying to get to. Like, what is it that scares you
About what?
about what's scare is does anything even scare you to keep getting up every day and going back out there? Because you have to have like so unless you're just like 100% positivity driven. Like you just wake up because you're like I just want to go back out there because today I want to go learn more.
Yeah. What scares
Yeah.
me?
Because I'll tell you, for me, I am like terrified of like inadequacy,
Yeah.
right? Like it scares me to think that like I'm not enough. And so that's what motivates me to keep grinding.
Now, I don't want to say this just because you just said it,
Mm-hmm.
but I find myself to be like really hard on myself,
Yeah.
because I know my potential,
Mm-hmm.
and this just happened to me the other day when I called you. That got put into question, you know, and that did not feel good.
No.
And it's been a while since I felt that way, and that is a motivator for me because I know what my potential is. I
Yeah.
know what I'm capable of. And when that's being put into question by people that, you know, have power over like my career and stuff like that,
Yeah.
like that is not
Not
like
cool.
that's not kosher, like that is not cool, dude.
Dude, that's one of my driving factors for why I got out of the military. That is the like that's probably the number one factor for why I got out. Was I just like could not stand the fact that somebody who doesn't even know me, who's not even there to see what I'm doing, has the ability to be like, yeah, you're in trouble today and you're going to pay for it. And, in the military, it's like people are always like, oh, I think there's two facets of it. There's the people who just cannot get down with like how hard the military is. Then you make it like to senior airman, or maybe you become a staff, or maybe you make it to tech, and you start to see why the military is hard, right? So I think at the bottom level, you're just like, why is there so much shit coming downhill? Why does it keep landing? Why am I swimming in shit?
Yeah.
And as you start to get higher and higher up the ladder, you start to see like, oh, this is where the shit's coming from. You can either agree with it and keep going, disagree with it, try to change it, disagree and get out. Yeah. And I disagreed and I got out. Because I saw it. I saw like I got high enough above the weeds to see how things were coming down, and I was like, "You guys are out of your mind." I was like, it was like I was watching a master sergeant chasing a bullet, destroying every single NCO and airman underneath him's morale for his bullet, and he was not taking into account anything that anybody had to say because he didn't care, because it's politics. He wants to make senior. Right? And the people above him they can't see past him. They can only see what he's putting forward. So he's like, yeah, everything's right over here. Look at this great idea I'm pushing forward. Meanwhile, everybody behind him is getting massacred. And they're like, what's that screaming behind the door? And he's like, nothing, just crazy new audio system we got in there.
Yeah.
Everybody's.
I'm still trying to like answer this question.
Yeah.
Because I also like being creative. I like being artistic.
You are a very artistic man. That is something that I wanted to touch on as well.
And I don't know if that's obviously a driving force for me too.
Mm-hmm.
And all of this, all these experiences, all like my values and all that goes into that creativity.
Yeah.
I was just having a conversation with I think it was my mom. We were talking in the car because I used to make music like a long time ago, and some like poems and like spoken word stuff. But a lot of them were stories. She was just asking me, about like these stories and stuff. And I was telling her, it's like, how I would write and what these stories were euphemisms for some feeling that I had, either like bottled up from like my past or like things that I was going through in life. What I would write, I would never like have forethought into what I would write about. I
Right.
would just start writing, and everything would just go off of like the first line,
Yeah.
or like the music that I was listening to at the time. It was making me feel some kind of way. And then it would just be just like, it would just come out. And most of the time they were just random stories about, whatever. And I was just telling her, like, I would never have forethought into a story, so I never knew where it was going. It was just a euphemism for like my feelings at that moment. It was just coming out in this creative way.
Hmm.
Like something was being triggered and being pulled out in like a creative like fashion. And then that's what I was explaining to her. And yeah, that's a motivator for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You do have a very like artistic perspective on the world. I do appreciate that about you because that's something that I have been trying to learn how to do more. And I think like one of the big things that I've learned from you is to kind of have this more like spiritual like understanding of like things that are going on around. Um, and like not to say you're like this like super like holistic guy, right? Like I'm not like trying to
Yeah.
like paint you out a certain way, but like when we talk, it's so crazy, man. You must have like read the book on like how to win friends and influence people or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
because you say these things that I'm just like, dude, like he actually cares, huh? Like like you'll be like, like you'll say stuff like just like, how does that make you feel, and I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, no, like, well, that's you asked, like, or you'll be like, why do you feel like that? And it shows that you have this like deeper understanding of like the perspective. You have a really good, and that translates to like the hobbies that you have and the things you do, like, dude, like this photography and like videography that you do, right? Like that means you have a perspective mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like, dude, I see that and I'm like, that I like that a lot, man. Like this guy can see the picture and really start to like paint
and
it out.
and my motivator is just to broaden that as much as I can.
Yeah.
I have to broaden my perspective.
Yeah.
How can I view the world if I don't have a broad picture of it?
Yeah. So then in a way, then your fear would be just like not having the right focus. Like
Yeah.
you're afraid of just like being out of focus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or losing the ability to do
To
that.
do that. Yeah. That's good, man. Do you feel like your like childhood had anything to do with that at all? Like is there a way that you were brought up that may have influenced that?
I'm sure there's not like a specific moment. I mean, my childhood wasn't perfect, but it wasn't, like incredibly
Big
hard.
fear for me is
Right.
I am scared that I won't be able to spend my time how I want to spend it. Like somebody's gonna always be telling me what to do, or I'm gonna be forced into a situation where I can't even spend my time because I have to take care of X, Y, Z. And yeah, that's what gets me to like go out there and surf the waves again every day. It's like people are gonna depend on me, you know. So yeah, that's a big one for me. I don't know, and I think getting this podcast together is gonna be a good way to kind of get that journal and
Yeah,
keep
this is
track and
awesome, dude. When you
keep
you know
the
when you first told me about this last week, I knew you were going to be all in about it,
yeah.
and it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like you shouldn't like half-ass anything. You should fucking do it. If you want to do it, do it. The only
Mm-hmm.
person that's holding you back is yourself. You know.